The following production is part of the Play Some Video Games podcast network.
This week's episode of PSVG Prime is brought to you by the amazing Patreon supporters over at patreon.com/PSVG. But a special thank you to Edwin Callow, Coach Hulk, Barry Cathcart, Chris M., Paul Calicote, Kyle Heyman, Benny Lou, and Joel Voss, Professor Switch. If you're not familiar with our Patreon program, what you get in addition to the heartfelt thank you from the PSVG staff for supporting exactly what we do, you get exclusive episodes of PSVG DLC, Bored with Everything, and eventually Arcadia Academia and Kevin Hates Everything will also be returning to you in an exclusive feed just for Patreon supporters. But you also get entered in the Patron of the Month Club, which gets you a prize every month, potentially, if your name is selected. Current offerings include $20 to Apex Legends, $20 to the eShop of your choice, or a spiffy PSVG baseball cap. So to get in on all the action and help support us, head on over to patreon.com/PSVG. And now, on to this week's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of PSVG Prime, the flagship show of the PSVG Podcast Network. It is I, your host, Kevin, and with me, as always, is the Chewy to my Han, Mr. Clancy Yarvinger. I mean, Lucas Rose. Man, it's like we planned that.
I mean, I have it on standby, basically, whenever it's needed, so you need a Wookiee. I'm your guy.
Sometimes you gotta let the Wookiee win.
It's true. If you want to have arms, you'll let the Wookiee win.
That's very true. But we're not alone, Lucas. Somebody else kind of creeped in to our territory. He emerged from the shack, and I guess if I'm Han and you're Chewbacca, does that make him like Jar Jar? I guess.
Ooh.
I mean, well, he's not that bad. BB-8.
No, yeah, lovable.
Okay,
yeah, BB-8.
All right, so BB-8, Mr. Donnie Reese.
Debating if I just want to just quit now.
I was waiting for your BB-8 noise. Your dead-on impression.
Yeah, that's not coming. Greet Scooplings.
Donnie's very excited to be here. In case you guys didn't know, it's been a week, as he said, right?
No, it's been okay. It's been a week full of podcasting. You know, this is like 4 or 5 shows in a row or something like that. So,
well, whose fault is that?
I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining.
I know.
I feel good. I love podcasting. This is great. That part of it's good. Being compared to Jar Jar Binks, that's the part that's not good.
Well, that's why we went with BB-8. I was just throwing it out there.
No, Kevin, we know your true feelings. You showed your cards.
Listen, either
you can't
way,
have Lucas come pull you out of the ditch again. Like
that's what he does best, though.
either way, you're loved by children, no matter who you are.
That's true.
Isn't that important?
All the kids love Donnie.
Oh, the Star Wars stuff is everywhere. That's the downer. Just I watched like a car insurance commercial do the exact same thing that like the Xbox commercial did, where they were like, kids pretending to be Star Wars, progressive auto insurance. I was like, oh my god, I hate this. Like, I just need this to go away now. Can we get over the hump?
Nope, it's bad. So like Mandalorian's out and Disney Plus is out and Jedi Fallen Order is out, and yeah,
but this is like it's totally cool when the Star Wars game does it. But when everybody else does the exact same commercial and just slaps their product on it, that's when it's gone too far.
So what about the Stormtroopers in Fortnite though?
Yeah,
because that dropped today too.
Yeah, it's a bit too far.
Nathan was tagging. Apparently, he's going to get Nathan to play Fortnite, but I don't know how. I'm wondering how much they are. I figure they got to be at least $20 just to get.
They probably.
It's got to be. And was it our friend Justin Warner tweeted at it this morning? It was like 6 a.m. He had tweeted it. That's when I saw it, and my response was, "Does it make your aim any worse?" Because I figured it had to. Like that. Would
did you do that too? I saw Jason did that.
Yeah. I had done it hours before. I didn't like. I just responded to Justin. I didn't like retweet.
Who shot first?
Who shot
first? Just low key here, just like. Riddle and thought over here.
No.
I'm sure they were the only two people on the internet who made that joke.
Exactly. I looked at Justin's comments first to make sure nobody else made that joke. As a matter of fact, I knew I wouldn't be the first person to come up with it. But it'd be even better if they just made that skin deliberately worse, just to be authentic, and be like, yeah, you can't hit anything if you're running out that skin.
Your crosshair just jumps all over.
Yeah, no, be awesome. But I haven't been playing Fortnite, and I unfortunately haven't been playing Jedi either, which we'll get to. So let's jump right in. Let's talk about what we've been playing. Let's do video games. It's what we do here sometimes when Lucas and I are geeking out or making song lyric references, because we'll do that. I guarantee it.
It happens.
It does. Lucas, why don't you go first then?
Ooh, I feel so wanted. So
normal.
needed.
Normal. That's kind of what we do every episode.
Yeah, that's kind of true. Outer Worlds. Let's talk about that last, because that's on yours.
Okay.
Astral Chain. I played a little bit more of it. I got some flack on this because I did say I prefaced it by saying I only played a small portion of the beginning.
Yes, and nobody listened to you apparently. I was surprised the amount of flack you got when you said, like, hey, I only played it a little bit, and these are my early thoughts.
Tom was like, oh, he made a complete assumption on the game after only playing a little bit. So I know he heard me, but he didn't care.
He didn't care.
It's like maybe you have a reputation that people just assume.
Blanket statements, Lucas. You're
That's crazy.
Yeah,
blanket statements, man.
You know what? Fine. Just for that, I beat the game and my opinion hasn't changed since the first hour. No,
trash.
Exactly. Anime trash. So, for instance, I was able to do some of the detective work, so to speak, which, is greatly appreciated because running around doing the same thing over and over. I made the comparison to something I played recently of Platinum Games, and that was Transformers Devastation. Yep. And while the combat in that game is pretty solid right off the bat, guess what you're doing for 6 to 8 hours over and over and over? You see the car transformation, and it's like, oh, that's cool. But then you see it for 8 hours and you're like, okay, is there any more to this game? And thankfully with Astral Chain, there is. So you have a little bit of investigation stuff, and you're kind of looking for keywords when you're doing this, and that's helping you kind of go along in the story, and you get graded on these things, which always bolsters anybody to do better. Unless you're playing in casual mode like I am, so that I can finish the game, then you don't get graded, and I just have to, go through it. Tom Servo did say go on casual mode because you can't really get good grades until you go through it once, which I did this. I was gonna say I did the same thing with school, so I had to go through twice.
Casual mode.
Exactly, casual mode school. I think that's called night school. Anyways, so yeah, I don't know. There's doors opening up in this game. Lappy the dog. That's fun. And I'm customizing my character. That's always a good time. It didn't really save Daemon X Machina, but it's appreciated here. And yeah, I mean, I'm not hating it or anything, and I'm getting grips on the combat here. It still is kind of one or two buttons, but Donnie's shaking his head. Right now, at this moment, I've only done, I think, 2 other cases. At this moment, it's still really only 2 other buttons as far as I'm concerned, and switching out weapons. So you're
how many cases in? You said 2, 3? 2
or 3, yeah.
So you're like 95% done with the games. This is your final opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. It will never change from this. So, I've done some training with switching out weapons. I just got, I think it's called the Gladius, which is the
spoilers.
Big
Jesus. Oh, can't do anything.
Lucas, you spoiled it.
Oh my gosh, you're right. I need to, you know what? If I'm going to talk about a game, I need to look in every single trailer that's released and find out what they put in the trailer, even if it's just for a split second, so that I can point to the trailer and say, well, it was in the trailer, so it's not really a spoiler.
Precisely.
There we go. That's what I'm going to do from now on. I got a lot of trailers to watch, guys. I'll be back. So yeah, I'm learning a little bit more about these controls, the weapons, the pulling and the pushing, the chains, the astral chaining, and whatnot. And that's a lot of fun. Tying them up, flinging them backwards with the old chain or chain gang. And it's all right. It's all right. I'll play a little bit more of it.
I absolutely love when you get to the point where you start to like slingshot yourself using your folks.
Chain jump.
That
Yeah.
never gets old because you can start to key in on the enemies up in the sky, and you throw your, I don't even remember what they are anymore. What are they called? Your Legion. That's it.
Legion,
You
yeah.
throw your Legion at it, and then your Legion can pull you. So
Yeah.
you throw your Legion, it pulls you up into the air, and then you throw your Legion again, and you can be up in the air simultaneously, like pulling off attacks. It's got just crazy, really good Devil May Cry vibes, but in a totally different way.
Speaking of legions, I don't know how much I trust these things because from a story perspective, they seem like they will turn on you and kill you at any second. So the fact that you're like working with one and doing all that seems a little bit weird. It's kind of scary, but that's the allure of the Legion.
I mean, your point of like pressing the attack button is not wrong. I mean, there is an attack button, but I think it sounds like you're just giving no attention towards the fact of how much you can customize and modify that attack button. Because while you're always, you're pressing to attack, but you're constantly, or you should be constantly changing that attack to fit the enemy. You should be using your Legion's attacks, using their special attacks, changing from the baton to the gun, using combos. Like, so all of that gets involved of it. If you really feel like you're pressing one button, you're doing it wrong.
I will say I did the I haven't gotten to a part where I need to do that yet. I did the training with the mixing it up basically. And for each enemy type, there is kind of the associated weapon that you should be using against them. And then the guns kind of fill in the blanks there, which is nice. Like you said, Devil May Cry had the guns, and that was always appreciated too, to have a little bit of range. And I don't know. I'm enjoying it. It's just kind of one of those games that I just go play for an hour and then come back to it another time, like days later or whatever. I don't know why. Lastly, I beat Link's Awakening.
Hey, you beat me.
Nice.
I didn't beat it yet.
You're right. I beat you. Don't forget it.
Sorry.
Have you gotten any farther since we've talked? Because I'm about to spoil so much. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't think I've played it, but I mean, I did beat the game over 20 years ago when it came out. So I mean,
fair enough.
How did you defeat Ganon?
Twice.
I also got the Master Sword.
Twice.
And the Triforce.
And I saved Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
All of that happens.
Sounds
in
right.
This game.
Accurate.
This was a tough one for me to beat.
Mm.
I don't have the nostalgia. I'm not coming in with the nostalgia, and I'm not saying that makes it a great game for everyone. You either love it or you hate it or whatever. It's an okay game. It definitely shows its age with the construction of the levels and everything. And I think that's where a lot of the frustration comes in, because you can see it's very grid-like. There are certain places where you can only get through at the very tip-top left, right portion of the map, and there's this little rock you have to lift up, and you can't lift it until you get the power band or whatever. That type of thing. Whereas nowadays we're kind of used to a much more open layout where if you're just blocked off by something, it's like, oh, the bridge hasn't been constructed yet. There's some story reason why you can't go where you're not supposed to go. So those things were a little bit frustrating. And I think that's a little bit more on me because some of the temples were also frustrating. It was a little tough to go through and do some of the later ones, like the Eagle's Tower and what's the very last one? The one in the mountains. I can't remember the name. Anyway, it's the one in the mountains, the upper east part of the map. And those parts were I don't know. There's just a lot to them. There's a lot of going around, and if you forget to hit a crystal to change the colors that bring the things up on the floor, you got to go all the way back. And before I had the fish's mambo or whatever it was called to get back to the entrance of the dungeon, that was a pain, dude, so bad. So yeah, not a huge fan of backtracking and doing all that, but I did get through it, and I don't know, I feel fairly accomplished. I haven't beaten a lot of Zelda games, so I can say I beat this one, and I'll say this: I'm glad I rented it. I'm not glad that I bought it. Again, having no, it's probably cool for people who remember playing it, but for me, it was enough to just play it this time around. It had enough updates to to make it feel current enough to make it worth it over just going back and trying to play it on some emulator or something.
Yeah, no, totally.
So.
And I mean, I was a proponent from the start saying like this game shouldn't have come out at $60. Like it just should have been less. Like, but if it was like a $30 or $40 game, I think a lot of people would be a little more forgiving for those people who don't have that nostalgia factor to it. If you sit there and say, well, this wasn't a $60 game, but this was a $40 game, and it was a solid $40 game, that's fine. But Nintendo typically doesn't do that, so it wouldn't be okay.
They can't cheapen the brand, man.
Right. Well, they can in quality, just not in the price.
Ooh.
I didn't have a problem paying the money for it. I mean, I don't I've said my piece on this, so I won't take long. But you know, I don't think it was like a super great outing. I wasn't overwhelmed or impressed too much. It's a good game. I played it a lot. It took me longer to beat it than I was led on early on with Kevin at E3. I didn't beat that game in 8 hours, like double that. And I paid $60 for plenty of 15-hour games. So
yeah,
the content of the game doesn't bother me at all. I wish it didn't have the frame drops and didn't have all the other stuff that I've talked about. That's what I wished about more. That's
true. I will say in closing, I never did get the boomerang.
I think boomerang's dope.
I think I had 3. Oh, I know, because there were times when I'm like, oh, that's how you beat that enemy. Because I did look some stuff up because I wanted to be done with the game. And I was like, oh, well, it's too late now. I ain't getting the boomerang. And I think there were 2 other empty slots that I had. But whatever. Didn't need them. That fish got woke, yo.
Spoilers.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. 20-year-old game. And then lastly, Outer Worlds, which I won't go on too much about. I will just say that I have gotten further than I was previously. I left the first world, spoilers, and gotten some followers, spoilers. And the game is set in space, spoilers. And I've gotten to the next place that you're told to go. And it's got its hooks into me now. I've got some characters I care about. They've told me some backstories. I'm ready. Like, oh, you need me? You need my help, old chum? Let's go. What's your character missions? I don't need main missions. I need secondary character missions so I can romance you. Are you a romance option?
Oh, spoilers. There's no romancing in this game, thankfully.
I didn't think there was. I figured there probably wasn't, but I'm playing on PC, so I could probably just mod it in if I wanted to.
That's true. You can romance like it or something, but Pennywise will show up.
I figured I'd just romance the ship. That AI is pretty hot.
Yeah.
That 2D static image.
I know, right?
So how are you doing?
So I beat it today. I wrapped it up. So it is done. I will say I really, really hope that there's more plans for this game as a series or even just DLC. Give it the Fallout treatment where you have the main narrative and then you get some fun quests that you can do in the world.
Every DLC is a new planet.
It could happen because this really isn't a spoiler because it doesn't really revolve or anything. But that map you get, Lucas, with the different planets that you choose where to go, your destinations.
Yeah,
you don't go to all of them.
Spoilers.
So there's a potential in my head. I'm like, maybe it could be DLC, or maybe it's just, there's a reason you don't go. I don't know.
After what you said, and I saw the map, I kind of assumed that just because some of it did it could go either way, but some of them did look like map dressing, basically.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe there's options I didn't do right and I didn't get something to go. Nathan and I are planning on, and depending on how long it takes you to wrap it up, we want to do a spoiler cast, like a review cast for it and talk about it. Because just looking at the numbers, whatever Nathan did, his game ended a hell of a lot earlier than mine. I'm talking like 20 hours sooner. Like he made some sort of choice that took him on a totally different path. So even he goes, oh no, the game ends really quick. And I'm like, really? And I checked in with him. I was around the same portion that he was. And I still played for another week and wrapped the game up today. But I had something like 20 more missions than he did. So he did something drastically different. So we haven't spoken as to what that does for the narrative, but clearly this game does, while in spirit, it looks to try and do the things that Fallout does, like Mass Effect, where you make decisions and it actually matters. I think in this game, it actually matters. Like it does drastically change the experience you can have, which might be nice for some replayability, but I wanted to wrap it up before Star Wars. So I was pushed, but
I know I'm dreading that juggle right there.
Yeah, you're gonna end up sticking with one, I bet. I will say though, right as of right now, and there's still time left in the year, but this game of the year for me, hands down.
Ooh.
And Donnie would hate it every second of the game. He would be angry.
Why do you always say that?
Because I know this is not a Donnie game.
Okay.
It's slow. It's story driven.
There's no Pokemon.
No, it's heavily story driven, but not in the sense of like a walking simulator where it's the narrative there. Lots and lots of dialogue choices. And there's basically things in the game that like you can do anything a la Skyrim, but if you do certain things, you pay massive consequences for. But in this game, it appears that like you could do that and actually end the game, which is just weird to me. And I think that's what happened with Nathan. I think he made a decision that kind of just ended the story right then and there. Kind of like the fake endings in the Far Cry's, where like, hey, you do something at the beginning and you could end the game in an hour.
Sure.
I think you could do that with this, but there's no, unless you do multiple save files, there's no going back. Like you'd have to start all over again and do a whole new narrative. So yeah, it's kind of weird like that. But I think the combat's slow. It's very chuggy. It plays pretty much like a Fallout game, which I know you don't like that style of shooting mechanic there. So
I did find this shooting a little bit better though.
For me, it depends on the gun. Certain guns just felt
be
better than others, and I tried there's, as you go throughout the game, there's numerous different types of guns you can get, and there's some wacky ones out there if you're willing to search for them that do very unique things called science weapons, basically, and they do different things and cause effects where some of them are fun if you find them. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, a lot of the guns, most of them did feel good, but some of them didn't feel that great. I noticed with handguns especially, the cursor and where the gun is actually held on screen don't seem to line up. And I'm normally not one to look for the cursor. I normally look at like where the gun is aiming at, and I found I had a hard time shooting with a handgun because of that. Nothing major, but just felt weird to me a little bit. But
I can see that.
Yeah, but that's it for me. That's all I played because I was trying to wrap that up. I need to get to Call of Duty more. I only played the first 2 missions of that campaign, and then I want to get into Star Wars. So I think Star Wars is going to come first before people start dissecting the story and jumping into that, because we know like that's going to be like a Uncharted where it's like, hey, this is the linear story. So as it gets out, people are going to discover things. So I want to jump into that and be part of that hype train for once and be playing something actually everybody else is playing for once besides Apex. But Donnie, what have you been playing? I mentioned Call of Duty. I see that.
Yeah, I did finish the Call of Duty campaign. I played like the first 5 chapters the day it came out. And I put it down. I was playing Luigi mainly, trying to finish that up. And after the first 5 chapters, it's not that I didn't think the game was bad by any means. I just wasn't like overly, like, I don't know, enamored with it. It just felt very, very like safe and normal and Call of Duty, like just this is what Call of Duty does. Not that I was expecting anything grander, but a lot of the lead up to this game, there's been a lot of conversation around some of these games like harder points, and it's going to make you do some things that you may not want to do, and right, like they're invoking all this stuff, and I was expecting more of that at least earlier on, and then there really wasn't anything there. Having gone back and finished it, I still don't think that I think some of those things have been overblown, and it's one of these interesting things because I think having grown up with Call of Duty, having seen the nuke and the white phosphorus and all the things over the years, make it hard to top that, especially when we've gone to space and we've had robot companions and like the flood flying through the sky. It's like, so the bigger emotional impact moments that you do, they're there. Like spoilers, there's a torture scene, right? Like you're going to do that, and you don't have to do it. You can choose not to. And then you can kind of choose how that plays out. But after you've seen a nuclear bomb blow up an entire city, is that really like the thing that's going to like grab, and make you sit back and question life and humanity? And like, I don't think I didn't have it that way anyway, So I just think it's one of those things. It's very, one of the things I really appreciate about the campaign, it's very grounded and it feels very real. It doesn't feel like chopped up or make believe, or like, honestly, it doesn't even feel like a Rambo action movie or anything like that. Like everything here feels like this could have happened, or it could have been a story, that a soldier or happened in a war or a battle. It's all very believable. And that part I actually liked about it. And I think because of its narrative being so realistic, like grounded in realism, that those emotional moments, I feel like, like they carry more weight. If this is your first Call of Duty, you might feel that way. Or if you don't play a lot of Call of Duties or a lot of like these shooter bang bang games, you might feel that way. But with everything that we've been through and everything that I've played, just a little softer than I expected it to land. That said, the game is absolutely stunningly gorgeous. And it's interesting because it feels like the Xbox One X is holding it back. Like it could look better, it could run better. It really feels like they're getting everything they can out of this hardware. And it's honestly like I'm playing this game and I'm just like, man, what is this going to do next gen? What is this going to look like?
Yeah,
because this is a completely rebuilt engine and everything. Like, what is this going to do when it gets full release of hardware and all kinds of new fidelity? It's going to go to the next level. But ultimately, I really enjoyed it. Actually, I think when I finished the campaign, I didn't come full circle, but what I thought was maybe okay-ish so far, I thought was pretty great. I don't think Call of Duty does anything poorly. I think the story is, like I said, I think it's grounded. I think it hits its beats and it gets out and it doesn't overstay its welcome. And for that much, I appreciate it. It's a little short. It does have some really... There are moments in the gameplay, for example, if I could use an experience that I had, and you've seen this in trailer, there's a few of these missions where you're playing in night vision and you're going through like a house and there may be, like civilians and women and children, things like non-enemies. One of them, was hands up, please don't shoot all that. Was a woman and she was on the ground and she totally like crawled under the bed and then pulled out a gun and started shooting me and killed me the first time I came through.
Dang.
And it's like, that's something that we haven't had in Call of Duty. And it wasn't like a big thing that it make it a story thing or preppy for it. It just happened. And it like, that's the realism I'm saying. Like the realism in that campaign is you're going through door to door. Like I got a sense in some of those missions, like you better check your corners. Like you better like pay attention to your lines or you could get shot by somebody like behind the door. Like they'll shoot you through the doors. And for that, it like the stakes felt, it's a video game. I'm not trying to, but the stakes felt somewhat real. And that I really appreciated. So by the time I was done with it, I really enjoyed it. I don't think it's game of the year, but I really thought it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Cool. Have you attempted to do any of the multiplayer or
No.
the co-op? So there's co-op campaign missions through the Spec Ops or something like that too?
I would like to do those, but just like I would like to play Gears and Anthem and and everything else. It's funny. We've got a dozen plus people here that don't play video games together.
It's true. It's very true.
We just don't. It's either we're covering things for shows, we're playing things we want to, or none of our schedules line up, but we just don't have the time. And as much as Jason loves to poke and prod at this over the years, I think he's absolutely right.
Oh yeah,
I think give up on the idea that we can ever make it happen.
No, what you need to do is you all need to do Extra Life next year, and then we're forced to play games with each other for 25 hours straight. We can play all the games we wanted to play at the same time.
Yeah.
I've been asking and reminding and pinging to play World War Z since the first night, and it has not happened. And it's not for a lack of trying. I've tried.
Yes. No, I've seen you actively try with Josh and Kyle. Yep.
It just doesn't work out all the time, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody's got stuff to do. Like I had to, my wife got in a car wreck, so like stuff happens. I get it. Mm-hmm. I just gotta give up on trying to do it, and then I think that's why I never want to get too invested into like a multiplayer game because of that. Because I can't.
That's true.
I don't have the blind faith that I'm going to make it out on the other end.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I did play Call of Duty Complete with the new Xbox controller. I took your advice and I played the entire campaign with the paddles. I think I get it. It's still not my favorite.
Sure.
I did take the paddles off when I started playing other games.
Yeah,
it's like twofold.
Mine are off too. So
I appreciated the paddles. So, and you have to remind me because your first setup I don't even quite remember. I had one for reload and one for jump.
Yep.
Is that what you told me to do?
That's what I do, yeah.
Here's the thing that I noticed. I don't jump in Call of Duty ever. Like, I was barely using that paddle. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. So what I did is I set it to crouch and prone.
Yeah.
And I actually liked that quite a bit. I got into a groove where I was using it for crouch and reloading all the time. And I was like, okay, that's cool. But I don't think that it was so cool or so. I don't know if I don't think I'm good enough to notice the difference between using the paddle for that command or the face button.
Okay.
You know, it was like one of those things where I was like, okay, I hit the paddle, but that just could have easily been my thumb moving over. You know, and like I don't know if I got that difference. Also, when I'm holding the controller with the paddles, I think this is the bigger reason why I don't know if I'll ever commit to the paddle. I don't know. I feel like I'm holding the controller much like lighter. Like my grip on the controller isn't nearly what I'm accustomed to because I was constantly like fearful that I'm going to pull or press the trigger. So like the trigger is constantly in my finger, like tip on the tip of my finger, but I don't want to put any pressure down on it at all for fear of pressing the button. And there was all these things where like I would set my controller down, for example, I would set my controller down to like take a drink or check my phone. And then I would pick up the controller and what would I do?
Yep.
I'd grab the grip
Paddle.
and I'd press the paddle.
Yep.
And the paddle set to B and then the menu comes open.
Yep.
And it was all of those types of things. I was like, either I'm not good enough to realize the advantage of this or like, I don't necessarily, I just wasn't the most comfortable. So by the time I got it done and everything, when I started playing other games, I just took the paddles off. Now,
yeah. To comment basically on what you're saying too, the only games I religiously used the paddles for was Fortnite and for Apex. And I think that might be the difference. It gives you a competitive edge. It's like you're able to jump and reload while you're in the midair instead of trying to slide your thumb across multiple buttons. You're able to press one and then trigger, paddle rather, and do it for those like that. Any other type of game, I've never used the paddles once for. And to be honest, the paddles are off now for me. But I still think it feels like the best controller even without the paddles. But I only use the paddles in like a competitive nature.
Okay. Well, I tried it, and I'm sure I'll try it again. I might try it next time I play Gears. I know a lot of folks with Gears like the paddles. I might give it another try there too. I just not overly like some folks in Discord. They talk about paddles like it's revolutionary. It's changing.
Yeah, no.
I don't feel that way at all. Like,
I don't either.
It's a thing you can play with, but I also can play without them. But that controller, by the way, is exquisite. The controller
it feels so good.
The Elite 2 controller is amazing. Like the moment I picked it up out of the box, I was like, oh my God, this is like this. It just, the feel that alone is worth the price. I know it's a heavy price, but there's nothing. It feels like everything. Like, I mean, it just feels so much better than I don't want to play with any other controller ever. Mm-hmm. Like that is the perfect controller. I know everybody's been saying it. I don't think it's hyperbole. I don't think it's hype. I think it's the real deal. Like everybody says it's the best controller ever made because I mean, I had it like I pulled it out of the box for 30 seconds and it was like, yeah, this is the best controller that's ever been made. It just, man, it feels perfect. It feels just choice. It's good. It's very, very, very good. And you know, it looks good to boot. And you guys know me. I love my designs and stuff, and it looks fantastic too. So I'm very happy that I bought it, and I look forward to playing lots. I did hear on the Xbox Drive that a lot of people are having problems with it. Apparently, you're talking about sticks and all. Like I have not had a single issue at all, and I think I would notice. And
we all know Donnie gets all the issues. So
I would be very upset if I paid for $180 for anything that stuck or didn't. I would be furious.
It's like having Joy-Cons that drift. It'd be so. Oh wait.
Yeah, I would be. If I had those, if I had as many as everybody else reports, I've had one that I fixed, but you know, like, and that was after a while. So no, but I also didn't pay $180 for it either.
That's true. Enough. All right. With that being said, everyone, you've heard enough from us, so it's time to hear from you. It's time to check out the messages.
Message for you, sir.
You've got mail.
MAIL or MALE?
Ooh.
Yeah. Welcome to Prime.
Oh God, that is this show.
It is this show. This is all we do here. This is what Lucas and I are known for.
CG Prime renamed Sausage Party.
Yes.
Ooh, great movie.
Episode title. No. Into the messages. First one comes in from Sean Capri. He asks 3 questions. Can I come over for Thanksgiving? What are we eating? What are we playing?
Yes.
Lucas.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
cut you
it's-
off, Donnie.
Yes, we have at my house. We have sort of an open door policy for friends and family. So
Oh, nice.
I will extend that to you, mostly because we have so few people who actually show up. It's basically just my family, like my immediate family, and then my mom because she's on her own. So if I didn't invite her here, she wouldn't do anything. So I'd feel bad if she was just by herself on a major holiday like that. Same thing with Sean. I'd feel bad if you were by yourself on a major holiday. We're eating. Well, we have the typical stuff. I kind of like ham better usually, but we still do turkey. Like you gotta, right? But my wife makes this awesome corn dish that is like corn, but also cornbread at the same time. It's like this cornbread bake thing. It's so good. It's so good. Once you eat some, you're gonna want that recipe. I'll get it to. We should for Thanksgiving. We should all just share Thanksgiving recipes. We should do that on the Discord. What are we playing? We're gonna play all of the board games that I bought when I had people to play board games with. We're gonna dust those off. We're gonna get them out, and then we'll spend 2 hours learning the rules, and then not play the game because we're tired. So
That works. That works.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Donnie.
Yes, you can come over. This year is very interesting because all of the ancillary family that we typically go to Thanksgiving houses to, they're all leaving. They're all going to other Thanksgiving houses. So we're home alone this year for Thanksgiving.
free.
And my wife is adamant that we are ordering Thanksgiving dinner from Cracker Barrel. She fawns
Okay.
over and over and over about this grand Cracker Barrel Thanksgiving dinner catering thing that they do. So we're just going to buy it. So she's not going to cook. We're all just going to hang out and relax and just stay in. So Sean, it's a ripe opportunity to come do some gaming. And if you're going to come hang out, we're going to play. I need somebody to play. Somebody play World War Z with me. Damn it.
I played World War Z with Sean. Just saying.
That's fine.
Sean, you can also come over here. What are we eating? What aren't we eating?
Bacon tacos.
Bacon tacos would be great. My dad actually has a smoker and he smokes his turkey, which is amazing. So I would recommend that. My wife will probably go ahead and do a butternut squash soup, which is actually really, really good. And I've never thought I would be interested in that kind of dish.
Isn't it a bisque? Butternut.
Yeah,
bisque.
technically it is more of a bisque in
Come on,
consistency and
man.
stuff. So yeah, you're right. Sorry.
You can't share any recipes.
I'm
in
not
our
Justin
sharing group.
Warner. Contrary to popular belief, I'm not him. So no, I wouldn't know these things.
That's
If
what
it-
somebody trying to.
That's what somebody would say.
Yeah, that's what they would say.
That's what I would say. But no, so we're doing all the different things. All the sides are the best part. Let's be honest. Turkey's okay, or the ham's okay, but the sides
Exactly.
really get you.
It's true.
So we'll be doing tons of that stuff. What are we playing? Sean, I'll help you get some wins in Fortnite. I heard on If We Were in Nintendo how envious you were of Mr. Badbit being able to play with me and him and Skinny Matt and getting all those dubs. But also, and this is kind of like stealing Lucas's answer here. I was kind of mad you mentioned board games. I would say we're actually going to hop in the car then, Sean, after playing Fortnite. We're going to drive to Josh's house. We're just going to raid all of his games. And
there's plenty of unplayed ones there.
Exactly. And we may not even play them, but I want to at least rearrange his shelves or maybe swap pieces and get him really like we can make our own game out of like 10 different games that he has. And we'll kind of do a choose your own adventure type game. So that would I would say, and we make Josh really mad. We go uninvited. And yeah, great times for Thanksgiving. American Thanksgiving, might I say. Because Sean's Thanksgiving was like a month ago, and they don't even make a big deal about it, really.
Wow. They're not very thankful at all.
Or they don't make a big deal about it. Don't you?
Oh boy, here we go.
Oh boy.
I'm surprised nobody said we're eating poutine.
Sorry about that. That'd be great. So thank you, Sean, for that. Chalfie asked a question. At what point in the year do you stop buying games and start monitoring the Black Friday deals? Does FOMO get a hold of you and you end up buying games day one? Or are you strong and you stay vigilant looking for those deals? Donnie, you're the deal hunter. But you're also the FOMO day one guy. So
yeah, the FOMO definitely wins all the time. I still haven't played Dragon Quest. I told Caroline today, just give me whatever you want and take me out to lunch and it's yours. I'm never going to play this game. I can't get to it. I got to get to Star Wars and Outer Worlds and everything else. Like, it's just not going to happen. I mean, I start monitoring. I monitor deals all the time. It's not just Black Friday, but like it ratchets up during Black Friday. This Black Friday, though, I think I've done everything. Like that's the weird thing is like I've bought everything that I wanted to buy. I definitely would. I would suggest to anybody that wants to subscribe to the Devin Tyus theory of waiting for Black Friday for everything. You will save tons and tons of money. Like just imagine what somebody's going to pick up Star Wars in like 2 weeks for.
I think you're going to say the Devin, mantra of just playing Destiny 2 and not playing any games, so you don't need to spend any money because you'll.
He always waits for Black Friday to pick up a couple things.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it because you will save more money that way. But, like it takes a lot of power. And especially, I don't want to put pressure on anybody, but we have a podcast. Like we can't just keep talking about the same thing over and over and over again. So, like you got to play something at some point. You got to start filling the things with something. You got to rent something, try something, Game Pass something. But yeah, no, the FOMO gets the best of me most of the time. So I can't even act like it doesn't.
Yeah, it's true. I'm kind of the same way. I'm not normally a day one FOMO, but I'm like a week or two and watching everybody else play something FOMO guy. So I still end up paying too much. I don't have a point where I stop buying games to monitor Black Friday instead, but I do just take a look at Black Friday and say, okay, what do they have? Is there anything on sale that I wanted to grab? And that's kind of how I approach Black Friday. I don't sit there and specifically say, oh, I'm not buying Star Wars because I'm waiting for Black Friday, or I'm not buying this game because of Black Friday. I kind of just buy what I'm going to buy and then look on Black Friday and say, ooh, would I like this as well? And kind of pick up extra games that were, maybe's on my list, or I'll get to this eventually, but then I see the good price. Like, I think Days Gone is a great example. Like, that's what I've been waiting for, and I do want to play it. And I believe it's like $20.
$20.
So I'm like, well, here's an opportunity where I may grab that now because it's something I still wanted to play. I just haven't gotten to it. So why spend $40 more and have it sitting there? Like, unfortunately, you've done with Dragon Quest, where you do want to play it, but you spend full price. And, eventually by the time you get around to playing it, you probably could get it for a little bit cheaper. So, yeah. Lucas, you don't buy games. So, I don't even know why we're asking you. But, I'm just kidding.
Humble bundle.
I was going to say, I'll say a bunch of stuff that isn't relatable to anybody who listens. So when you're a Steam user such as myself and you play on the PC, there's pretty much 4 Black Fridays in a year as far as Steam sales go. They have a Steam sale for everything. Plus things are always going on sale. So when it comes to games like that, I look at my wish list. I see what's on sale because they're great about emailing you. Oh yeah, this is on sale. Yeah, but you want to buy that, don't you? And there is an unspoken number for each game in my head that I'm willing to pay. And I don't know what it is until I see it. And then I go, oh yeah, I'll pay $5 for Arkham Knight or whatever, whatever.
Right.
That doesn't work great for newer games. So for that, I'm still clinging on to my Gamers Club Unlocked or whatever. I've got that until.
That was a big part of it. I before mine ended, I bought everything I could.
Yeah,
that's why I have Dragon Quest.
I gotta make it count. Yeah, exactly. So for that, what I've done is I've pre-ordered the games that I know I will need to buy. And then there was Rage 2 in there for some reason. But I bought, Doom Eternal that way. I bought Cyberpunk, or pre-ordered Cyberpunk and Jedi. But that's because there were reasons behind all of those, except for Rage 2. Because, Cyberpunk is my jam. That's my life's blood. Jedi, I've been clamoring for a Star Wars game since this other single player one got canceled. Like, if I know in my heart that I need these games, I can do those pre-orders. And it's been a long time since I've pre-ordered games like that. But Gamers Club Unlocked makes it a lot easier. I don't know what I'm going to do after that, but yeah.
Game Pass.
Yeah, Game Pass.
Yeah, basically. That's what I rely on now to play anything new. It's like, oh, Outer Worlds. Well, only because I got Game Pass. Guess I'm never canceling that. So
yep, that's great. So next question comes from Brian Underwood. Since I'm making up Pokemon on the Nintendo stream, if you didn't know, Caroline streamed Pokemon for like all day and dealt with that toxic crowd of folks who apparently are attacking Pokemon. But he was making up Pokemon on the stream. If we were in charge of Pokemon design, what's one Pokemon we'd make? Name, appearance, signature move, and the effect thereof.
I feel like this is just a prime setup for you guys to make fun of Pokemon. So
no, dude, I went all out. No, I did my homework, dude. This is the only reason why I wanted to answer the questions. I completely made a Pokemon. I went out of my way. I have all 3 forms. I got everything.
Oh wow.
So do you want me to go first? So you guys
Yes.
have time? Okay. So here's my my Pokemon. It is basically a computer. It's the first form is Pooterbox. That's the name. Second form is Computator. And then the third and final form is Teraflopus. Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah. So first form appearance, a large potato with keyboard and mouse. Very basic, like Amazon Basics keyboard and mouse. Second form, an all black server tower. I'm talking like monolithic, quite large, with USB-C tendrils coming out of every USB port. And then the final form looks like a 360-degree tempered glass cube with blinding RGB everywhere. Just like
Nice.
memory, CPU, all that stuff just blinged out. Moves include the RGB flash, which obviously causes a blinding status effect, the benchmark, which causes paralysis, and the signature, which is the blue screen of death, or the B-sod, which does a twofer. I don't even know if this is possible. This is my Pokemon ignorance coming out. It's a confusion / freeze effect.
Yes.
Because they're confused and frozen because they can't move.
Yes.
The blue screen of death.
Jesus. You've killed this question.
I know.
You
bringing
win. This is perfect. I got nothing.
So if somebody could just draw that for me.
Caroline, go ahead, start drawing these Pokemon.
Thank you.
Wow. I mean, you straight up destroyed that question.
As a child who used to dream up Mega Man characters, you know, it comes
Oh.
fairly natural. Also, I read the question as soon as it was given, and I was like, I can't come empty-handed to this. This is fun. This is too much fun. So I went. It's pretty much all I did today. I don't even know where my kids are right now.
All right. Donnie, do you have anything? I know
I
that's
really
tough
don't.
to follow.
I saw the question on the doc and I sat there and I thought to myself, like, I immediately started, like, you know, you do what you do. I started going through pets and I was like, well, there's like dogs and cats. They already do that. And I tried to like think of like a golf type Pokemon. And I really couldn't come up with something that didn't look like something off of like a Muppet or something like that. And I mean, I would hate to even try to follow up what he just did. So
I know.
at this point, I'm just going to refrain from even trying. No, I'm
trying to
good.
give you time.
It's terrible. So
What you did is you crushed hopes and dreams.
You did. I really should have just gone first. The only thing I could think of, number one, I didn't have enough time, and I mean, I don't really know. You know, Donnie gets a lot of flack for liking all the Gen 1 Pokemon. I'm with him on that. Like,
yeah, I'm there as well.
So I mean,
well,
there
it's
may be
really like
something
Gen
like
1 to 3.
Oh,
But
sure.
but the thing is with it, it's not. See, I think the Pokemon like Caroline, diehard game Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
So she's all about the games. I became a Pokemon fan because of the card game and trading cards, and I did that in the midst of Gen 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And I continued to do it through 3, and then after that, I kind of followed off. Even though I kept playing the games, that was my Poke time. That was where it was like incubated and curated. That's why I love those Pokemon. It's not because of the game or any tie into that. It's literally because when I build Pokemon decks, those are the ones I play with. That's it.
Interesting.
Makes sense. My lame attempt here is a poison fire type Pokemon.
Ooh.
So I don't know if that exists, but the only reason why I thought of this was I was trying to think of what would be the most ridiculous Pokemon I could come up with. And my Pokemon's name is Flavorton, as in Flavortown.
Yeah.
So this Pokemon would look like Guy Fieri, and it would basically be a chef Pokemon who would use fire attacks and would poison you with their foods. His finishing move would, of course, be winner, winner, chicken dinner. And that's how he would finish off his opponents. That's kind of all I can come up with just in my head. But yeah.
Winner chicken dinner, like WWCD Pokemon movie would be called like Wicked.
Oh, yeah, that's true. See, you're way more into this than I was. Yeah, it is what it is. But that's all the questions we got sent in. But I believe Donnie has something he wants to raise.
Yeah, I do have a question just because I wanted to get it out there for the public and like really put somebody on the spot and really like just get it fully invested in the community so he's held to it. I need to know, are either of you coming to the PSVG house party that's been fully funded, that equipment's being bought for, that travel plans are being made for? And let's start with the highlight spotlight of the moment. Lucas Rose, are you going to be there?
Yeah.
talking to me across the thing, taking a look at my computer, finding all of my hidden porn, doing all the things in my stuff. Like, are you gonna be there?
Is it really hidden though?
Yeah.
It's really not. It's like a bookmark file library.
It's the folder name. It's new folder.
It's not even on the folder. It's literally in the browser. It's just the bookmark.
Gotcha. Yeah, who has that on their actual computer? Yeah, so I talked to my wife about it, and basically all it comes down to is, will it work for our schedule? She's a teacher, so she should be out of school by that point. Might have some things. Teachers are never done. They have to still be there even if the kids are gone. I don't understand it. So yeah, she gave me the green light. She's like, yeah, if I had something for work, you wouldn't say no. And I said, well, this isn't podcasting is work, but it's a little bit different than your job. But yeah, she was pretty on board with it. And, I'm hoping to have my car ready so I can take that on the field trip, and we'll see how that does. But you guys might have to pick me up halfway out. But, yeah, I gave it some thought personally, and I was like, when am I going to have a chance to do something like that again? I'm not going to go to a con. And even if I were like, man, that sounds like a cool thing to go to by myself. Like, I'm not that kind of person. I don't, anybody who does do that, more power to you, but I could not do that. So yeah, I looked at this as an opportunity to kind of do something like this that I wouldn't normally do. And it's not like, even if it happened every year, every other year or something like that, it's not so frequent that it's like, what are you doing? It's not every month we meet up and stuff. So yeah, as long as everything works out, I have the green light and I'll be there.
This is so awesome. This makes me so happy.
I know you are really gunning for me. Like you were picking your team, like you're doing the roster and drafting us. But yeah, I'll be there. I'll set everything up and I'll be your nay man and say, oh no, you can't have that many computers streaming through the same internet or on this and plugged into the same thing or whatever.
We've got to plug you back in because Dev and I have already started laying out the room. So what we figured out what we're going to do is we're going to push the couches out of the way. We're going to put the stage or the table in the lights where the couch is, because what we realized is we need we need a screen, the TV in the room being it, that the people sitting at the table can watch and react to.
Yeah.
Because we can't run it off the computer because the computer is going to be 10 feet away. We're running into all these, and now we're already starting to talk about how do we get headphones to everybody? Now we got to come up with all these different adapters and splitters and extensions because we're sitting at the table. Like, how are we listening to this? Because at first it's like, we're not all going to be sitting there like watching on our phone. We've got to have something in front of us that we're watching. And it's something we haven't taken into account. So we're starting to run through all of these questions in our head, trying to figure it out. I'm sure it's going to be an absolute train wreck and fire that first day, but it's going to be the best fire, like the best train wreck. I can't believe that we're doing this. You guys have known how much I want to do this. And I'm just, Kevin, did you ever think, hey, you want to do a podcast?
Well, you didn't ask me if I was coming yet. So,
well, I already know you are, but it was really just a big illusion to get Lucas to commit on air.
He's the hype man. He's like, Lucas is coming. We got to be excited. I'm pretty excited. This is the last chance. Like, I've met some online people once before when I was young, like 19, but this really will probably be the last time that you people I call internet friends, which are probably closer than most of my friends from my life. Looking at you, Jason. I'm kidding. It'll be the last time that I do any of that, where I get together with people who actually talk about the same things I do. Like, I don't have that except for Jason here. So it'll be really awesome to get in a game or get in a room with a bunch of gamers who talk about the stuff that I really don't talk about with anybody else in real life. So looking forward to it.
Makes sense. I did forget. We had one other question that we were told to ask in every podcast. I forgot about Paul Calicote's lightsaber question. So I'm trying to remember it from memory. I believe he asked what type of hild we'd have and what color lightsaber it would be. So Donnie, did you answer this on Empire? I haven't listened to the episode, so you already covered it. Okay. So Lucas, do you know your answer or do you need to ponder?
Well, when you say hilt, do you mean like, is it going to be double bladed, or are you just saying
or is it going to be like oh my god, I can't remember his name. The new bad guy.
Kylo Ren or
Kylo Ren. Yes, Ren.
Rilo Ken.
Kylo Ren, or like Count Dooku's got the curved one. Stuff. Like
I've always been a didn't Ventress have the curved ones too? I always liked the curved ended ones, and I think mine would be a little bit shorter too. So very very kind of sexy looking. I don't know. I mean, the original trilogy lightsabers are all kind of bulky in my estimation. So mine would be very svelte, and I think I would go. I don't know if this actually exists because once the saber colors, once there were video games, it just kind of all flew out the window. Yep. And black. How black is like the absence of color. How does that even?
There's
work?
a dark saber that I learned last night about.
Exactly.
I don't know what it is. I can't tell you again.
Do you know where it came from?
It's in some historical myths of Star Wars before the things I don't know.
Yeah, that's the other problem is that all got...
I got schooled by Lucas and Nathan about it last night.
So as somebody who understands that green means sentinel and blue means whatever, I'd go with silver. I think that would be pretty freaking sweet.
That's nice. I also went with the curved tilt. Just in case nobody else listened to Empire. I went curved tilt with purple because purple is my favorite color. And then Luke said that the curved Dooku thing was like the worst one. But then I Googled it and it was like third best in some ranking thing up. I think it looks freaking awesome.
I guess you either love it or hate it. Mine would be shorter too, by the way. I know a lot of them are quite long, but shorter blade, faster, easier to manipulate. You don't want to be cutting off your own arms.
Dual blades, like daggers?
It's not the size of the blade; it's what you do.
Almost, yeah. Exactly. I don't need a long blade to chop your head off. I just need a lightsaber.
Fair enough. So you have to go with me on this one. I'm coming up with my own stuff because this is what I do.
Lightsaber scythe.
No. Well, no.
Well,
you said it well.
No.
That would be.
All right. So color. Sorry, Samuel Jackson. I'm going purple.
Boom. That makes 3.
Purple is a good.
Love it.
I was told it wasn't allowed for some weird reason.
Well, because Samuel Jackson's the only one who has it. He
not anymore.
Well, no, but he wrote that into the thing. He would only do the movie if he got to have a purple lightsaber and be the only person to have a purple lightsaber.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Diva much?
It's Samuel Jackson.
Yeah.
Somebody tell him it's Star Wars?
He didn't audition. They said, we want you. And he says, okay, but I want this. So they wanted him. So,
if you're, I was going to say, if you're weighing out the
that is some green M&M's junk if I've ever, that is ridiculous.
Well, Nick Fury in the Marvel movies, he wasn't a black guy until Samuel Jackson did. Now in the comics, he's a black guy. Like he changes whatever the hell he wants and people do it. But I don't want my blade to be the same structure as everybody else's. So Kylo Ren has like kind of those flame ones that come out the side.
Yeah.
I want my entire lightsaber to be like that, though. I want it to be like vented, like it's a flame versus a lightsaber.
Well, that's because his kyber crystal's cracked, and you don't want a cracked kyber crystal.
What?
Maybe I do.
Purposefully. Ooh, yeah. I mean, there might be some benefits.
Yeah. And then lastly, the hild.
I'm sorry, everyone.
I don't believe this has been done. It might be in some weird book or something. I want like a cutlass hild. So you have like that hand guard. Because to me that seems to be the dumbest thing that people could just like lightsaber your hand.
So you look like a fencer with a flaming sword.
More like a pirate, but yeah. Flaming pirate lightsaber sword. Yep.
He's just got like a thing cut all around his hand. He's just on God.
I'm not talking about the dome like in a fencing thing. I'm talking about the one that just covers your knuckles when you're holding it, like a pirate.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
All right.
That's what I want.
But wouldn't it have to be made out of a lightsaber for it to deflect?
And I just feel like, he just turns his hand, and he just chops his own fingers off. Like this is a workplace injury waiting to happen.
That's me to a T. I think it's very fitting.
Should have went with the scythe. A lightsaber mace. How does that even?
Can I take off this suit?
You said lightsaber scythe, and I started going through like lightsaber rake, lightsaber shot.
Well, initially I thought battle axe at first. Actually, I was like, "What if I can have a lightsaber battle axe?" That's what I was thinking initially.
That's good.
That's too weird, but yeah, I was thinking like just like too handy.
Weird or awesome.
Lightsaber claws like Wolverine.
You see that? Like you just think about it. He just like you're holding like this giant stick, and then you hit it, and this battle axe just comes out of it. That's amazing.
Yeah. That's true. I always like those staff thingies that those robots that guarded General Grievous had.
Yeah.
Those were pretty cool. They weren't lightsabers, but they were still cool.
Yeah. Anyway, we're way off topic.
Yeah, now it's just Star Wars podcast.
Star Wars
Haven't even
podcast.
played Jedi yet. And
Nope.
jeez,
You know what we should do? We should get off the podcast and go play Jedi.
thankfully I installed it. Normally I don't do that.
So we were supposed to have an interview come up next, but I think what we can happen, we're just going to cancel it so Lucas and I can go play Jedi.
Yeah, I think that's a good compromise.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, thanks everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling a friend. I'm just kidding. There's totally an interview coming up instead of the news, so make sure you stay tuned. We'll be right back with that. All right, and as promised, listeners, we do have a special guest this evening, Mr. Richard Clifford. You may not know him yet, but we're going to give you a reason to know him and hopefully follow him on this little journey about something he's working on that has Donnie a little hot and bothered. And for once, it's not around Pokemon or anything like that.
So excited.
So to give you some background, Richard is from MinMax Games, has worked in the industry for quite some time. So he's not a newbie to this at all. Previously, if I have my notes here correct, you worked at Radical Entertainment, which was a subdivision of Activision.
It wasn't originally. Activision took us over. It's roughly when I decided to go and do the indie thing, actually.
So hostile takeover, and you said deuces. I'm out of here.
Yeah, pretty much.
But you did work on games such as Scarface and Prototype, correct?
Yep.
And I will say, Prototype, I freaking love that game.
Yeah.
That was a great game. I think a lot of people did not pay enough attention to that game.
Yeah,
It
got a sequel, but I don't think Activision really had any intention of keeping it around.
Yeah.
If I can throw some love in, I love Scarface on Wii. We've talked about it over the years, Kevin. Scarface on Wii was really, really good and a really cool like licensed tie-in for anybody that's if you never had a Wii and you never played it. Scarface for Wii was basically like the Wii's version of Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah,
because I didn't get those, but it was a licensed tie-in. But back then, all the licensed tie-ins are basically like retelling of the movie story. Scarface wasn't. Scarface was like, hey, what if Scarface ended differently and then set you off on a brand new game? It was like a sequel. It was really, really cool and great like controls and pointers. I was a big fan of that. And we've brought it up over the years. We talked about Wii and old favorites, and I really appreciated Scarface back in the day.
It's too bad I can't talk about it, but it is public knowledge on the internet that there was a sequel we were working on that got canceled. So that kind of adds to the, Activision runaway, but
And Runaway you did, but you did go off and start MinMax with Andrew Hume, who he also worked with you at Radical as well.
Yeah, we both kind of left at the same time, and the whole thing kind of fell out a few months later. So Activision didn't really have any intention of keeping Radical around. They were more after the Warcraft acquisition there, but
right.
They gave us a little bit of time to finish up a couple projects, but most of them got canceled. So, yeah, it's hard to work with that kind of thing. And I mean, we went through 2 company takeovers while we were at Radical, so it's kind of frustrating, and it just seems to get less and less fun every time it happens. So,
it's true, and we unfortunately we see this. Well, not I wouldn't say unfortunately, but we do see a lot of takeovers or acquisitions now, as they're really called, and some are not for the best, and then you have some that are saying like, no, this is a really good thing. With the recent ones Microsoft is kind of doing, it's kind of had a little bit of a turn, but typically during the time frame you're talking about, when you heard the word acquisition, it meant somebody was just buying up the licenses or whatever, the projects they were working on, not really interested in the developers or the teams or anything. They just wanted the IPs that they worked with more than anything.
Yeah, well, they didn't really have any interest in any of our IPs. They, for the most part, wanted Warcraft, right?
Yeah. So. Yeah. But hey, since then though, you've started MinMax Games. You released a game in 2011, Spaz, Space Pirates and Zombies, which had a pretty good reception. Almost 2,000 reviews on Steam, I believe. So overall, pretty cool. What was the experience making that jump from coming to working with a studio to kind of being a 2-man team and getting to do what you wanted to do?
Well, it's definitely fun having the creative freedom, but it was absolutely horrifying. Like to go from, I mean, I like Radical kind of went under shortly after we left, but to basically give up a relatively stable, well-paying job to not getting paid for 2 years was really scary. And it was kind of a bummer. It's like, are we doing the right thing? Is this even going to work? But and by the time we were getting close to release, Steam even rejected us initially, and we didn't know what we were gonna do. I mean, I was like crying. We were getting sick. Like, oh my god, 2 years of our lives. But we ended up getting picked up by Impulse, and they gave us a nice big push. And something that Steam usually never does is they emailed us back and said, "Hey, come back." And
Wow.
so, usually that doesn't happen, but
Right.
they seem to like us now. So Spaz 2 ended up on Steam right away. We didn't have any problems with that after that.
Yeah, once you get that track record, it seems to be a little bit easier to pass go, collect your $200 and move along. So the idea for Spaz, where did this come from? How did you determine that, like, hey, we're doing our own thing. We're in this terrifying stage, as you mentioned here, not knowing, how you're going to get things done. How did you come up with Spaz? What was the inspiration behind that?
Well, my business partner and I, we would go and have meetings and talk and have a coffee while we were at Radical, and we just got to gushing about Star Control, basically. It's like, why don't they make any games like this anymore? I just want to have a cute little top-down space game, but I wanted to have some HD graphics but still maintain that look and that feel, and there just wasn't really anything like that being made. And we kind of based our whole company motto around making, games that they don't make anymore, that people seem to want to still play.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that makes a lot of sense, especially getting to what we're going to talk about later. You definitely seem to take inspiration from those games that everyone loves and remembers, but for whatever reason, people just stop doing them. They like to go. It's almost like game developing is like, let's find the safest product to put out there and kind of just go with that model, that form that's there, but they don't really go for making improvements on like cult favorites.
Yeah,
like Star Control. Star Control was awesome. I remember playing it. So the second you said that, I was like, I do see the correlation there. That makes a lot of sense between that and Spaz. But it's just like, you're right. People don't think to go and dig those licenses up or create something new and kind of just improve on that tried and true formula. They more just want to go the safe route of doing kind of the same thing over and over again. But you definitely took something and made it a lot cooler. So after doing Spaz and eventually Spaz 2, did you guys start feeling a little bit better about what you were doing? Did some of that, the nerves go away, the uneasiness, the unsettling nature of being an indie developer? Did that kind of put some fuel behind everything?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, after Spaz 1, we had some income. So, I mean, it was a little bit better. So with Spaz 2, we're like, okay, so we've got some money from the first game to fund the development of our second game instead of, my business partner, he was like living off of like a reverse mortgage. It was getting really insane, and we're just basically draining our bank accounts. But with Spaz 2, it was like, okay, we have some money, so we'll put a bunch of it back into developing another game. So it was, that's probably why it's a big reason why it took so long. Like Spaz 2 took 5 years instead of the 2.
Right.
So we wanted to try to knock it out of the park and add all this cool stuff. But yeah, we didn't have the crazy money stress the second time around like we did the first time. So it allowed us to make some changes to the game and increase its scope and take longer on it. So it was definitely, it was really difficult working on a project for 5 years, I'll tell you. But it definitely, the money stress wasn't there the second time.
Well, speaking of which, actually, I think we'd all kind of like to know, and anybody who's getting into game development would like to know, and you touched on it a little bit, but from a business perspective, how does that work exactly, where you're a two-man studio, basically, and you've got two games over 5 years that you've released, and you've said, like, your reverse mortgages, feel free to get as personal or impersonal as you feel comfortable with, but how do you make that work? Like, for anybody trying to get into that, me personally, I tried to get into game design. I didn't go that way, but the indie scene is really big now, and I'm sure there's a lot of people trying to get into that. How do you make it work financially from a business and personal perspective?
Well, luckily we had some money from Radical saved up, but not a heck of a lot. Mm-hmm. Some people, it's actually a lot harder now, I'll tell you. Like, when we released Spaz, we got rejected on Steam because they were curating a lot of their stuff. But now, I mean, anybody can go on there and just push a button and throw $100 and you've got your page. So it's actually really hard to get noticed now than it was back then. I would recommend to anybody that if they were trying to break into this to not do it full time, have a job on the side maybe, and keep your scope reasonable. Not like we did with Spaz 2. It's really hard. It's super difficult, and even with GOLFTOPIA, because it's not Spaz, it's actually hard even with being part of MidMax to even get people to look at this being a new thing. It's super hard.
Yeah, it seems like you're always rewriting like what to do as you're doing it. From any game development stuff that I've read, it just seems like you don't really know until you're in it. Would you say that's true? Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. It's and trying to manage your scope is super difficult. So, I mean, you got to kind of have to set boundaries. Like, how much money am I going to spend on this? How much time am I going to spend? Am I going to jump in and do this for 60, 80 hours a week, or do I run another job on the side? But it's tough. I don't really have those answers. We got in at a pretty good time, and we had some luck here and there. But yeah, there's 1,000 games that come out on Steam a day now. So it's tough. It's tough. But ultimately, I mean, if you've got a really good game and it's a really good idea and it's fun, you should be able to do something with it. But yeah, it's tricky, like marketing and everything. I'm not going to pretend to be a professional at that. I'm terrible at that sort of thing. But it's definitely hard.
Yeah, so I mean, like, it makes a lot of sense. So, given your background working with studios before, departing, going on your own thing, starting your own creative journey, being the indie developer, along with that creative freedom, the ability to work, when you want, as you said, do I need to do 60 to 80 hours this week, or can I do 20 and do something on the side? Or say, hey, I'm going to work on this specific part of the game now. Like, you get to choose, you have that freedom. Are there any downsides other than the financial situations we kind of talked about in your mind in trying to make it work as an indie developer versus just signing on with the publisher? Maybe like you come out of school and you're ready to program, make your own game. Would you say, is the indie route the way for people to try, or should they go with a developer and establish thing, kind of just signing on with air quotes the man? What would you recommend kind of to people starting out?
I guess it really depends on your technical background, and I don't think I could have done. I don't think I would have been any good at Spaz or Spaz 2 or even GOLFTOPIA without the things that I had learned at Radical. Right? So, they paid me to learn all this stuff that became invaluable for me when I broke out on my own. Like, you're surrounded by a lot of programmers and artists, and you'll learn things from them. But if I had to do this, like learn all this stuff, on the fly or go to school for it, I don't think I would have gotten a lot of the experience that you kind of almost really want for that kind of thing. So it's kind of hard to explain, but I mean, it's hard to, I mean, if you're coming right out of school, that's going to be a tough one because a lot of people are ambitious, and, it's like, when I look at how much code I've written for this game, it's like a couple of paperback novels worth. It gets really difficult to manage. And if you don't have a lot of experience, like designing out your systems and a lot of experience fixing your own bugs, it's something you kind of have to kind of learn as you go. And it sucks to have to learn on a project that you're passionate about while you're learning, hey, I don't know a lot of this stuff. So it's tricky.
Sounds like it takes a lot of personal knowledge of yourself, and that can be hard to do, knowing yourself and knowing what you should do, especially right out of school if you choose to go that route.
Yeah. You got to check your ambition. It's just, it's hard.
Yep. Yeah. So with the PC landscape being what it is, you talked a little bit about Steam. Steam's not the only place that you can release a game. It's the most popular probably, but you've got Epic, you've got Game Pass, and all those other ones, Origin, Ubisoft, their Uplay, all that stuff. How does that affect what you do? Do you look at these things and say, oh, let's have a meeting about where we're going to release our game? Do we talk to Epic and make it an exclusive? That type of stuff. Does that come up for you? Is that something that you worry about or talk about?
Well, there's no plans to do any of the Epic exclusive stuff right now. But both are with Spaz 1. We ended up on like all kinds of stuff. We were even on that on live service while it lasted.
Oh, geez,
Yeah.
We generally found that for the most part, people are pretty monogamous to Steam, and the secondary portals that we were putting the game on didn't really make us a heck of a lot of money. We did release both the games on GOG, and they're not bad, but yeah, Steam is king. But I mean, something for like GOLFTOPIA, yeah, I don't see any problem with putting it on the Epic Store or GOG or whatever. And we've got a little bit of working experience with GOG. I don't know anything about. I mean, I have the Epic Games Launcher, of course, but yeah, I'm not sure what it would do, what their process for submission is, but I don't see any reason not to. And I probably will do it anyway, just because you're more likely to get looked at on their service.
Yeah, that's what I was
versus
just
the
thinking.
100,000 games that came out since,
It's got to be frustrating seeing like Steam does so well and no one wants to break their religion from that. But it's also such an ocean of content that even people I know who only play games on Steam are like, I can never find anything on here without it being terrible. The front page always has those weird like games you've never heard of. And I know they're trying to get better at doing that and get content to you that you would be interested in. But it seems like it'd be frustrating to try out the other places, have it not do well there, but be like, I can actually be seen here compared to going to Steam where there's hundreds of games released every day or every week or whatever. So
yeah, that's exactly it. And that's what kind of went down with Spaz 1 when we were picked up by Impulse. So they featured us and we got a lot of buzz and we sold a lot on their service. And that's when Steam's like, okay, your game's actually all right. So,
I guess you can come too.
Fine.
So you've mentioned it a few times now, so we'll transition on to the main reason you got Donnie's attention here, and that's a little game you're working on now known as GOLFTOPIA. So it's being described as design, build, and manage your own futuristic golf course. Keep 200 persistent visitors fed, hydrated, and happy. Defend your creation from a growing infestation of weeds with robotic workers and defensive turrets. Eventually evolve your course into a mega resort where nobody wants to go home ever. It's basically a retro futuristic golf management sim, tower defense, pinball hybrid, and is being described on Reddit currently as a love letter to sim golf and Futurama. And quite frankly, we love it already. So I'm going to let Donnie geek out here because he's the one who brought it to all of our attention. But we're all hooked on it here. So Donnie, the mic is yours, sir.
Thank you very, very much. And I appreciate it, Richard, for coming over here. I am so excited to talk to you. The day I found out this news, you have no idea what I did to my Discord server.
Thanks for having me, man.
We're going to get you featured somewhere else. So we're going to make sure that this game finds people. You better believe that. I do a very good job of hyping up things that I'm excited for.
Sweet.
Hashtag shoot Donnie in the face. We're going to do something with that. But okay, so I love sim golf. One of my co-hosts here at PSVG on Nintendo Shack, and Jason Lacey, he and I both have a long-standing love for sim golf, and I personally have this somewhat reputation of loving most golf games. As a big fan. One of the things I mentioned to you on your Steam page is that I carry around with me, like it's right here at my desk. I still have my CD-ROM copy of sim golf, and for the longest time I couldn't make it work on Windows 10. I have found the abandonware download code just this year to get it working on Windows 10 again, and played it with my son. We did I think we did a let's play on Twitch. I'm the only person in the world playing this game. So it comes to no shock to me that when YouTube recommended a video to me out of the blue, Google pulled out the Eurogame preview. It was like, hey, sim golf something or another. I click on it and I see this futuristic golf course sim. These people hacking balls around, shooting around through tubes, and I lost my mind. I want to say I have so many questions. I do. I wrote down 5. I have 5 questions that I want to let you take anywhere you want to go. Very first part, just to get this out of the way. Can you elaborate on your description of the game in terms of when I posted about this was the first thing that we got a response to is, what does he mean tower defense? What does he mean pinball hybrid? I think I know watching you play, but I'd like to hear it from you.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, you guys have watched the trailer, so you know that there's all kinds of these crazy devices that you can add to your golf courses to basically spice them up. So you're not exactly playing pinball with the flippers, but I might totally add that later. Who knows? But it's kind of hard to quantify the game because, I mean, if I come up with a cool... Okay, actually, I'm going to start at the beginning. It all started... Originally, the game wasn't in the future. It was just a normal sim golf like management sim. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to put in a cute little windmill, and it was totally decorative. And then I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if the fan actually blew the ball around? And I'm like, okay, that is pretty cool. But that's totally not really how golf normally is played. I'm like, well, wouldn't it be cool if there was a bumper on the ground or a launcher or teleporters and all this other stuff? And I'm like, well, there goes my art style. I can't really keep that anymore. So, and I'm like, well, let's not stop there. I'm going to add some transport tubes and all this other stuff. So the pinball element isn't so much you playing a pinball, but the fact that there's all these little bumpers and reactive devices that you can place. So not so much the flipper part, but the rest of the table. I've tried to pull in as many of those elements as I can, and anything that can manipulate the ball and play in a way that helps you build a cool course, or at least get the balls where you want them to go. I mean, I'm putting them in. So that's the pinball element part. The tower defense part is basically how you deal with the weeds mechanic. So if you remember Sim Golf, they did have a weeds mechanic where you'd have to deal with some dandelions. So I'm like, okay, well, let's take that and kind of push it into the future. So I actually ended up looking at a picture on Google of an actual golf course being infested by kudzu, and it was super cool. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So what is the enemy of a golf course? Well, it's weeds. So, and I'm like, I've got futuristic everything, so why not have some turrets? So, I mean, you've got workers that go around and tend to your grounds, but why not build some turrets to deal with those? So as your golf course expands, your front line gets bigger and you have more of this area to defend. And the more holes you have, the more aggressive the weeds will get. And they'll basically try to take over all the landmass that you don't have control over.
I love it. Okay. We kind of talked about this a little bit when we were talking about Spaz and your inspiration for it. Why Golftopia? In today's landscape, I can't imagine that there's millions of people out there like me that are just fawning for a new Sims Golf. I know we're out there. Trust me, I sent you this YouTube video on how to get it working on Windows 10. It's got 20,000 views. Like, there are people out there that still love it. But like, did you just get nostalgic? Like, do you golf? Were you playing Sims Golf? Like, what hit you and you were like, you know what I'm going to do after doing Space Pirates and Zombies? I'm going to make a Sims style golf mechanic game.
I personally think that Sim Golf is one of the best simulation games ever made.
Yes, so, he knows the addiction, Kevin.
I only play it on the hardest setting too. It's brutal on the hardest setting. But I remember when I was younger, and Sim Golf had been around, but not super long. But it was out for a while. I was scrounging for some new sim game to play that I hadn't played, trying like Afterlife or whatever. And I'm like, fine, I'll try this golf game. Apparently, it's made by two of the best game designers in the world or whatever. And I really had no interest in golf. And then I played it for a couple of days. I'm like, this game is awesome. It's like, it kind of fixed all the problems I have with a lot of sim games where nothing you're doing matters. Like everything, every tree, every rock, every dip, every bump. They complain about everything. I'm also a huge Sim City fan, but if you ever saw any of my cities, they look like a circuit board, like a board cube. Like, I just figure out the right way to do it and I build it like that. But Sim Golf is all about characters having fun and doing different things. So it kind of forces me to build something aesthetic, and they react to it in a way that's meaningful. And I don't find that there's a lot of games like that. Like, I find Roller Coaster Tycoon's close, but I just thought Sim Golf was so much more accurate. Like, I don't know, it was hard to explain. And then I ended up like, okay, maybe golf is actually cool in the real world. So I ended up playing it. And it's pretty fun. So it actually started with a game first. and then I started playing golf. But I've actually had this longing to make this game in my head for like a decade.
Oh.
So I kind of feel like I've been designing it in the back of my head for a long time. But how we go from Spaz to GOLFTOPIA is a bit of a different story. So after Spaz 2, we were like, okay, that was 7 years of pew pew space pirates. That's a long time. And we wanted to do something different. And we found that if it's not a giant, enormous space opera strategy RPG, that my business partner and I are quite different in terms of taste. And we tried to roll around a few different ideas, and we ended up deciding that instead of making another game, we would make 2 at the same time.
Ooh.
So he's working on something that's not revealed yet, and I'm working on this. But we're still a team, and we still meet every week and talk and help each other out. But we're just going to take this time and make a couple of cute little projects while we can afford to do so. So it's definitely a risk, but it's kind of one of those situations where I want to take the risk. I don't want to look back at this moment and be like, I really wanted to make that game and I just didn't.
Yeah, I like it. You're like stretching your creative muscles. You've got this idea. It's a passion project. You want to do it, and it's cool that you have some support to do that, and you're supporting and Andrew to do the same.
Yeah, for sure.
That's really, really cool. All right, I've got the link here to your YouTube demo, which we're going to put in the show notes.
Sure.
So listeners, click that link and go watch this game. I want to ask you something here. So I know from your demo and from just the store page and the original pitch that the majority of the focus right now on GOLFTOPIA is focused on the sim. It's on the simulation and running the economy.
Yep.
Is there any chance that you're going to actually let us play the courses ourselves, like Sim Golf did, where you could actually have a character host some tournaments and stuff?
Yes, that currently does work. You have a manager, you can customize them, you can play on your course. I'm still working on how the tournament system will work. I'm trying to come up with an interesting futuristic idea for that. But yeah, the playing totally works.
Fantastic.
And it looks very much like Sim Golf. So you don't go down there, you don't have a golf meter, but you're kind of more or less coaching him through, and you can pick where he's going to shoot and the style of club you're going to use and whatnot. And your dude levels up, so he sucks really bad at first. And
Doesn't everybody with golf?
Yeah,
that's the best way. That's the best way to play. Okay, so off of that, then I've never played Spaz. I must admit. I mean, this is not the type of game I'd be into. But in preparing for this interview, I did a lot of research and read a lot of reviews and watched a lot of Let's Plays on Spaz, and a lot of people talked about the humor that you guys had put into that game and the dialogue and stuff. And I wanted to know if we could expect anything similar. I don't know, you mentioned your love letter to Futurama. Like Sim Golf was hilarious with their plays on pop culture and celebrities and the dropping houses and stuff and their little cartoon faces. Can we expect anything like that?
Oh yeah, the restaurant.
Oh my man.
The restaurant I have in the game is called Soylent Golf.
Fantastic. Awesome. Okay, so let's do this. Do you have any intentions to let us play with our friends, either in a multiplayer or a co-op, a shared experience?
To be totally honest, I don't have a ton of networking experience, but I do hope to have some sort of map sharing at the very least.
Nice. That was my next question.
And I'll just have to. I'm just sort of working on one thing at a time, and I don't want to say I'm going to do this without really knowing if I can. But it would be cool if there was some kind of asynchronous thing with certain types of maps. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure we're not going to be having 2 players on the same map playing live together. It's not really that type of experience.
Asynchronous golf is the best way to play. We hosted almost a year's worth of Mario Golf tournaments, and they were super huge because it allowed all of us to play at our own times. Right. Instead of all having to be together at the same time, we could all pitch in whenever we had a moment. So, oh man, I love this. I don't want to put any heat on you. I understand this is you're brand new. It's just out of the gate. It's just the reveal. But I felt like I had to ask it. Do you have any intention or do you have any window in mind into when you think players might be able to expect early access, or if you have we'd love to have this out by 2022 or anything like that?
We're thinking first quarter next year. So the game's pretty good shape right now. It's
It is.
mostly just tuning and actually trying to get the player to understand that it's a little bit more challenging than you might expect a golf simulation to be. So hopefully pretty early next year. But we're terrible with dates, so I don't want to.
Are you going into early access, or will that be a version 1 release?
At the moment, it might just be a release. I'm not sure. It depends. I mean, we're kind of in a strange place. So the game's pretty stable and it works, and there's not really any bugs, and the performance is good, and it can run for a long time without leaking. And so I'm not sure if I'm not sure. It just depends. If there's enough people interested in it in the next little while, I might consider doing early access just to get that community feedback and see what other crazy stuff I can add to the game. But I'm just worried that you look at like a lot of people's early access games, they would have been out by now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where I don't want people to say this game shouldn't have been in early access, and I'm just leeching off of free testing. So it just depends on. It's really going to come down to the next couple of months to see how basically the buzz.
Dude, people are the worst. And if you want to leech off of me for free testing, I'd be happy to put this thing through the ringers.
I'll definitely give you a pre-release key for sure.
Oh, and I'm going to buy several other keys and give them away to make sure other people play it too.
We're all going to be playing this thing for
I'm
sure.
very, very, very excited for this game. I just last question I want to ask is just I used to play golf, and I actually used to work at a golf club, and I think it's a big part of why I really enjoy this type of game. Are you going to have multiple themes? I saw your demo and I've seen the and I will admit the engine or what you're working with, it's gorgeous. It looks great. Especially I love like the night setting, being able to light up the course. That's something unique. But the one thing that I didn't see were multiple style of golf courses in terms of, like links courses and beach courses and mountain courses and desert courses and stuff like that. You have any of that in the works as well?
Yeah, that's a complicated question. So I actually really don't like that there's different themes with certain where you kind of have to shut down and start a new map. So
okay,
it doesn't really show up a lot in the video actually, but you can totally make a desert map or a beach map, or have half of your map be a desert and the other half be temperate, or you can have a mixture of tropical over here or whatnot. So I want to have those themes, but I don't want to have any restrictions for how you can paint them down. So
sure, just allow the player to kind of build it.
Yeah, so I've got different ground types like dirt and grass and whatnot, sure. And then I've got like temperature controls, which will make it look dry and crappy, or and then trees will react to the ground temperature. So on the hot end, you'll get lots of dead cactuses and stuff, and then on the low end, you'll get temperate, and somewhere in between, you'll get like tropical trees and stuff like that. So the idea is I don't want to pigeonhole the player into a theme, but if you want to have a mixture of all that stuff in your golf course, I want to give you the power to do that. I find Roller Coaster Tycoon does that really well, where you can have this part of it be themed, and then they move on to like a desert theme or something like that. So the idea is that there's nothing you can't do on the single map. If that makes any sense.
That's all the questions I had. I don't want to put you to the ringer, man. I just wanted to let you know that and I already said this to you. I sent it to you in the email and I put it on your Steam page. And I just want to say it to you again publicly and for all of our listeners here. Thank you so much for making this game. I know a lot of developers out there that they either make games or they're trying to find a market, they're trying to find a niche. I know that this one may not be the most, blue ocean strategy in terms, but this is the game that I have been wanting for years and years, and I never thought I would have it. And the moment I saw it, I was like, I'm going to give this game all the support I possibly can, and I'm going to appreciate it regardless. So I'm very
the only one that wants to make this game.
So, if in closing, then before we let you go, and thanks again for being so generous with your time and joining us tonight to talk about this. We do, as you could tell, especially Donnie, appreciate this. I myself was a fan of sim golf as well. Golf Story, another example of a genre of game that personally in real life I have zero interest in, but for some reason in gaming environment, it's very cool. So I'm also jazzed to see this. So if folks wanted to follow MinMax Games and GOLFTOPIA, where's the best place for them to kind of connect with what's going on with the project going forward?
Best thing they can do is probably just wishlist us on Steam. So getting those numbers up is everything. So, I mean, we've got a Facebook page and a website, but we're really active on the forums. They're checked many times a day. So if you want to grab the Steam forums for Spaz or GOLFTOPIA or our Facebook page, that stuff gets checked regularly.
Okay. Cool. We'll put the links in the show notes for that as well, so people can find the demo, the gameplay, and all the social media things to link up and ask you more questions, or to kind of say, to echo our sentiments and say thank you for doing this, because this is something we're really excited about doing. So thank you again for your time, Rich. We appreciate it.
Oh, thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate it.
Good luck with Golftopia.
Thank you.
This has been a PSVG production. Any music, sound effects, or the like is owned by their respective copyright holders. No infringement is intended. The views expressed in this production are those of the individual contributor and may not necessarily reflect PSVG. This production may not be repurposed, reused, or redistributed without the express written consent of PSVG. PSVG is powered by patrons at patreon.com/PSVG. Become a patron to get special perks, including access to exclusive content.